Welcome to a training series that myself and Bongani from OD Media have put together for a local church here in Durban, South Africa. The aim of the series was to help their team get up to speed on the basics of video production and get their content online for an online audience, because things have changed a lot and you can no longer have big gatherings. So what we cover in this course is going to be a lot of camera basics and the foundations of that, going through things such as aperture, iris, all the camera settings, and just giving the theory behind those. We look into editing, some of the theory behind it. We don't go too in depth on editing software, but we give a lot of the basics and understanding of why and how you edit, filing systems, backups, file formats, all those kind of things. We also then get into audio and sound and lighting and basic lighting setups, and we look at live production with multicams. We then touch on live streaming and how you set up live streaming and what the different setups are from a single camera through to bigger productions. Follow this series, hit the subscribe button, we'd really appreciate it. And if you find these videos helpful, leave us a comment, tell us what you would like to see maybe in future videos that we do, and hit the like button.
Let's get this party started. Church visual media. It's not limiting to visual media, or rather audio is part of visual media, and this is more specifically geared to some of the production and the broadcast that's going to be happening as well. Awesome. So the first thing that we're going to look at is production crew. Okay, I think one of the critical things that it's always good to see or call things by their right names. Understand also what those names and those roles and those functions mean. And also finally, when the credits roll up at the end of the movie, we kind of all understand what's actually going on and who's doing what. How when the greater the budget, then the greater the responsibility, and the more you can sort of segment everything and break it down, and the roles become more streamlined, etc., etc. So we start off with the producer. So producers, typically their main function is to kind of typically fund the project, or they find the project, to then find the people who are going to implement and execute the project. So at the top line, you'll probably have like your executive producers. So someone would write an amazing script and think, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And then if it's an action flick, right, you're going to end up with Jerry Bruckheimer, right, as executive producer. And typically he's the guy that knows all the contacts that will be able to pull the money together to go and make this happen. So he kind of makes the whole thing happen. So in our context here, probably Ross would be the exec producer in a way, or even let's put Ross as the exec producer, and then then your projects that you're gonna go and do may probably go through maybe via Justin. I think he gets involved in quite a bit of the stuff, and the stuff that's going to go and comes up with the great ideas. Let's go and do this, like this, so that's his role is probably more of a producer. And then then you have your director. Now the director is the person that actually then brings it to life. He's the one that creatively makes sure that the story gets communicated, and it gets communicated and brings the project to life. Between producer and director, those roles sort of sometimes mishmash, depending. You'll find like even Spielberg is kind of going to produce and direct his own project. So those are in our world, sometimes those people can get very micromanagey. It's my idea, go and do it, but then I also want to tell you how to do it. You know what I mean? It can get very, so I'll give those people grace, but when there's a greater budget, they just tell you, go and do this. Then you, as the creative director, is going to sit at home, come up with the concept of how we can best communicate the story, and then pull the people together that are going to help you be able to pull this together. So if I want to do something in a specific style, I know that I'm going to need someone specific to come who understands me, understands how I communicate, and also understands what I'm trying to communicate when we're out there doing it. So for instance, that if you're going to be doing like a big Disney film or whatever, so one of the things in the sound department, you definitely know that we're going to go and get Hans Zimmer because Hans Zimmer understands what's going on. You don't have to like over explain yourself for the next person to understand what you want, you know. But at the same time, if I'm gonna go and do like a dance movie or something like that, or you know these, I'm probably gonna go and find Pharrell because I know that Pharrell Williams. I don't have to over explain. I say if I just say to Pharrell, "Hey, just make it hip," he knows what that means, you know. So that's where the thought process, and then why it's important, because you might find a director. So, like myself, there are specific people that I know that I'm going to work with when I'm going to go shoot specific things, because I know that when I speak to those people, I don't have to worry about certain things. I can just say, okay, cool, we're going to go establishing. He knows exactly what I mean by that and how I want it, to come together. And also, the other important thing is that he's also going to put them, or he or she's also going to put themselves in my shoe and own the project. You know what I mean? And say, okay, cool. I think, okay, yeah, let's put it in there and let's do it like that. Okay. So yeah, so your director then says, okay, this is how this thing is going to come to life. Then your production manager is basically kind of your PA, really. They kind of know who everybody is, where everybody is, and where everybody is supposed to be, where they need to be. But most importantly, and that's why again, I want to stress knowing and understanding what each person does around you, is because especially for someone like production manager, is that they know how the whole thing works. So when we are there, the sound guy is just making sure that the sound is great. You know, the camera operator is just there to make sure that the visuals look amazing. But if something goes down, my first point of contact is past the director. Director, cool. We've got an issue over here. Fantastic. Project manager or production manager. Hey, we need there's something wrong in the lighting department. Then she knows, or he or she knows, who to speak to and arrange and sort those things out. So they kind of keep tabs on everyone and knows what everybody is doing and where everybody is at. Then your camera operator, basically all they're worried about is making sure that the picture looks good. The director is worried about what's going on in the picture, who's doing what and saying what to who where. And obviously sound guy is making sure that whatever's going on in the picture sounds good by those guys. And again, I think you can also start to see how sometimes those things dovetail, right? Or depending on the size of the project and the budget, etc., how those things are mashing into one. So where some of you guys, you've probably already found yourself as the director and the camera operator and the sound guy and all in one, you know? So it's kind of like you're changing hats the whole time. You're doing it sort of by osmosis. It's kind of just happening naturally, but technically what's happening is that you're changing hats the whole time. And then you've got your production assistant. So if you've got the budget, something goes wrong or you need help with X, Y, and Z, you go to the production manager. Production manager tells the production assistant, Hamba Lapaside, go do that, bring me this, comes back. And they kind of just next to, depending on the size of the project, they're next to whomever. Okay, camera operator is there. Okay, flip, I'm running out of battery. Need a new battery. He's got to go here, come get the battery, switch, push, go put your battery on charge. Depending on if you've got Madonna on set, you know, she needs a green tea. Oh crap, let's go find her green tea. Run, get the green tea, come back, you know, etc., etc. Okay, cool. So you've got audio engineer. So there's on-site audio, and then there's also obviously post-production in mixing, in mixing that and making it sound clear. And then in the church context, then you've also then got graphics and stuff like that. This is live production. This is stuff that's going live to screen. So you've got your pro presenter people there that are operating, depending on how hectic things are, your church Sunday productions are. You know, you're queuing the testimony video. You've got the slides for the announcements. You've got the what else do you have? You've got the lyrics for praise and worship. Okay, if you had Hillsong, then you've got flipping holograms. You've got holograms and all sorts. And what I've left out of here on my slide, I beg your pardon, is lighting as well. So you've got someone who's dedicated just to get the lighting. Because you also, like, as the cameraman, you're sitting there, okay, Kif. Now, can you imagine the time? I got a mission there. Whereas from here, and someone is there on lighting, cool, can just a little bit to the left, perfect. Hold it there, dial it down a bit. Okay, yeah, that's perfect, boom. And then we can all continue. But then, of course, with budget allows, you have a designated lighting guy. And typically, in our world, your lighting guy is usually your production assistant. You'll notice the production assistant is a lot of people. they morph into a lot of people. In church, that's for the most part what you're going to be dealing with, and these are some of the things that you're going to be working towards. So in terms of the type of content that you're going to be, sometimes it's just going to be a talking head. So you had like 2 angles. Oh my gosh, wow. And then you're going to start to do reenactments. People talking about their testimonies, and you're gonna want to start to stage things. And then, of course, it's the Sunday morning where it's kind of a production itself. And I think we're all mature enough to kind of understand that it's not just a production; it's still, what it is. But technically, from a technical perspective, it's a production in terms of there are certain production criteria that have to be met for a certain level of excellence to be delivered. So you've got that live component that sometimes includes what you've pre-recorded, all happening at the same time. But essentially, they kind of have all the same things. Maybe some of the things you just didn't know that these were technically what they're understood to be. You're not just a sound guy. Now you're more like an engineer, or you're not the words guy. Gosh, you're not just the words guy, but you're doing multimedia, live multimedia, and then there's someone who's in charge of lighting, and there's someone who's the production manager who actually knows exactly what's going on for the whole service. We know they're sitting there they end up sort of chilling at the back, and they're sitting there, cool, 5-2, cool, Alec rolling. Cool. We know that Ross is coming from stage right today, not stage left. Who's coming up? Then Justin's going to come. He's going to do 3 praise songs and 3 fast songs and 2 slow songs. And then after that, who's going to come in from stage left, do the welcome. And then they're going to throw to the video that's going to be on the screen. And then from there, we're going to move to who's then going to introduce our guest speaker. At that time, Musa is going to come out with the pulpit and the water and the green juice, etc. You know what I mean? Now, all these things for us, they just happen. We kind of do them habitually, but also you notice how when they're not effectively or efficiently communicated, how terribly, like how bad it goes. Like, oh my gosh, they forgot the water. And you just like when they forget it and like they're rushing with it, and it's just a cringe fest, man. Like in the middle of the whole thing, it's like, dude, come on, And typically you'll find that person who's super like on top of things is often absent that Sunday when that stuff goes wrong, Or sometimes we just don't have them in place. We just kind of did it automatically. But when you know better, you do better. So let's make sure that we designate someone who's going to make sure that everything runs perfectly. Rugby World Cup, 33 cameras. Soccer World Cup 2010, 33 cameras. Okay. So you've got one director who's just calling the show. And then next to them, you've got the sort of division mixer / technical director. They're kind of, so as you're calling it, all they're doing is just looking down. What? Take camera 5, 13, 24, 2. They're not even looking at the screen to some degree. They're just calling, they're just activating what you're calling. and you've got the however many cameras in front of you, and you're just looking at the screen, check that. And sometimes, depending on the level of skills, well, they can be your second set of eyes. So you'd be like 22, and he's like, yeah, but your 14 looks epic. You're like, okay, cool, yeah, shot. Stand by 14, call that. Take 14. The greater your team, then the more streamlined your roles. But again, like I said, with church, you end up being the technical director and sort of the overall director of what's going on the live production itself. Sorry, Matt, go ahead, bro.
You've got different sides to it as well, and you all need to work very closely together in terms of feeding off each other. So when I'm directing, I'm saying to Alec, okay, cool, what have you got next? He's got the production run sheet of what's next, and he's run through it with me. I know what's there, but at the same time, I'm not concentrating on the run sheet because I'm actually listening to what the guys are saying in the preach and how I want to cut the show and how that kind of thing. So he's my second set of like reminding me, he's the second set of like tech info. Okay, we've got this, and Carmen will be like, hey guys, we're going 5 minutes over. We need to like warn Paul. He's getting carried away. Let's give him a 5-minute warning. That kind of thing. So that's kind of where your roles kind of separate a bit. Is it's different bits, but you feed into the person next to you and the person you work with and stuff like that. And it's been, in a smaller team, it's been the second set of eyes.
Yeah.
Like, actually, hey, don't go to that angle that's looking a bit funny. I can see something there, and then you can talk to director, can talk to the camera guys, hey, sort that out. It's never any good to sit, especially live production, to sit on your bum and say, oh, well, it's not my job to tell that camera guy to fix his shot. Mm-hmm. It's like, you can suggest it to him. If you work in the team, you can suggest. If you're someone out of the team, you don't suggest it. You keep quiet rather than don't interfere with the production. But if you're there and you're actively involved in a role in the team and you know all the links in the chain, then yes, step in and say something. If you don't know the links in the chain, maybe don't say something because you're not too sure if it's out of place or whatever. So that's a big thing, is how the roles are defined. And then also you got to remember, that's live production. Then there's a whole normal production side, which Bongani will get into as well, of when you are on a shoot and creating content and how the production manager works a bit differently. He did touch on that as well. So that's a bit different. Yeah. So in the live setup, it grows. The more and more people you have in the chain, eventually it gets to, you have a director directing camera crew, but you have a director working, or a producer working with presenters and stuff like that, talking to presenters, queuing them up. And when you get it right on a smaller team of just 2-3 people in the technical department, it's easier to grow it bigger.
Because can you imagine with broadcasting, right? And it's huge on a huge broadcast, like that cycle tour. Yeah. It's full on, and because the budget allows, right? You've got one guy who's just sitting there watching the stream. Their sole role is to make sure that the stream doesn't drop. Do you know what I mean? And then again, depending on, for rugby and stuff, it's like they got maybe 3 or 4 guys who just sit there to do action replays. Yeah. So you got to cover each other to make sure that the ship doesn't sink. At the end of the day, you've got to have the stomach for a lot of things, because, and also remember, your sole responsibility collectively and through to the director, and I think that's kind of also what your question was heading towards. Your sole responsibility is what people see on the screen. Okay, that's what they see. Okay, and the quality of what they're hearing. The doctrine is not your problem. The doctrine is not your problem. But the buck stops with you in terms of everything and how or what the people end up seeing. But at the same time, you've also got to love your crew enough, especially your camera crew and stuff like that, because they are the ones that are supplying you with the stuff. Sometimes they'll give you some shoddy stuff, and sometimes it's your fault because you got to call the shots, because the director calls the shots. Okay, so at the end of the day, just to a large extent, the buck stops with you. And I think when we talk about the stages of production, pre-production, production, and post-production, Matt will touch on that, is that everything needs to be decided before we push record or before we step on. So by the time we walk in Sunday morning, in the perfect world, and having been an associate pastor myself in my time, we sometimes get it wrong as pastors and leaders because we always want to change things last minute. But the whole point of pre-production is so that we plan what's going on, what's going to happen. For the most part, as the director, you know exactly what's going to happen. The production manager's got the schedule. Okay, we know that after praise and worship, someone's going to come and do this, So sorry to waffle on this point, I need to move on. But so for instance, on a day like that, you're there, you're directing, cool. You're like, all right. Sorry, I never got your name. Carmen. I beg your pardon, Carmen. I did get your name. I just, it's a matter of speaking. Okay. So Carmen is production manager. I'm just making an example. Cool. So, let's start the last song. Carmen. Hey, Alec, it's the last song. Cool, thanks, Alec. Call the shots. Cut to 1, cut to 5, cut to 2. Carmen knows it's the last chorus. Okay, it's the last chorus. We've got Auntie Jemima on stage left. She's going to be coming up to say the announcements. Is her mic on? Yep, mic's on standby. Fantastic. And cool is the last line of the last chorus. Cool, Aaron, make sure I've got a camera on Auntie Jemima coming in from stage left. Awesome. And amen. Auntie Jemima walks on, and Aaron, you're live. Track it to the center of stage. Cool. Camera 2, I'm coming to you for the wide safety standby. And cool. And then we've done the transition. So you can see how your role is to what your role is to what your role is to what your role is.
Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed the video. Hit the subscribe button to view our next video in the series. You can also check out our behind the scenes series from some of our travel videos.